Welcome back, everyone. We are live again with Keith Renninson. Keith is a Colorado native attending Arapahoe Community College, Metro State University, and the College for Financial Planning. Keith's time in Vietnam taught him to never waste time. It's too precious. And to that end, he has lived an interesting life of racing cars, foreign travel, climbing many of the Colorado's famous fortuniers. His new award-winning book, Tenacious, You Don't Have to Get Lost in Nepal to Find Yourself, But It Helps, is based on the second trip when he traveled alone and got lost for a few days in the Himalayas. Additionally, Keith has authored 3 other books and 3 children's books. He's in the boards of many universities and many companies in the Colorado, and he has done an extensive research in developing his proprietary program, the Trip Technique Assessment, which scores you on your leadership, communication abilities, tenacity, resilience, imagination, and purpose. And today he's going to walk us through how to be adventurous, tenacious, and resilient in these times of burnout. Welcome, Keith. Thank you so much for being today with me. I am looking forward to learning from you.
It's really nice to be here. And even though we're doing it at an odd time of night, we're on opposite sides of the world, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely. You are adventurous by definition, because for you it's 1:30 in the morning.
Well, when I was young, 1:30 was still just time to go for breakfast, right?
Yes, fair enough. The floor is yours.
Well, I will dive right in here. I'm going to share with you a couple of items today that are about my TRIP technique, and TRIP is an acronym for tenacity, resilience, imagination, and purpose. And this is normally about a 90-minute keynote. So today we're just going to talk about tenacity and resilience and making it a journey through life with a lot of adventure and spirit. We all have life crises that happen to us. They may happen with you at work. They may happen with you at home. We could have worldwide things that are happening like COVID did, and now the war in Ukraine. A lot of things happen that make us feel like we've kind of lost control and we need an escape or we need an adventure. And you find yourself feeling sad or afraid and learning how to cope. And this leads to a lot of burnout, especially amongst people that are working at home alone anymore, which is happening a lot in the United States. But we've been given character traits that will really help us if we use them. And those character traits are my 4 letters of tenacity, resilience, imagination, and purpose. And I want to go over this old Lao Tzu quote because it's so pertinent for what we're doing here. Whoop, I just bumped up a screen. I apologize. Let me bump back. And it's one of those things where when we learn how to read the other words that has been written many, many centuries ago, like watch your thoughts because they become words. Watch your words because they become actions. Watch your actions because they become habit. Watch your habits because they become character. And watch your character because it becomes your destiny. And what we're talking about today is your character traits, which is very appropriate for what Lao Tzu said. And I think that when you look at tenacity, you're looking at what it's all about: spirit and adventure and vision. And that's what I think I want to try and point out today to try and help people, is that when you are experiencing burnout, whether it's just in life in general, or if it's with your job or your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, it's about the spirit that you live with, the adventure that you find in your everyday experiences, and the vision that you look forward to for what you're going to be experiencing and helping others with in your work and in your future. And I took a trip to Nepal in 1995. I'd been there 3 years earlier, which is when this picture was taken, and went with a girlfriend, and we trekked all around the Annapurna Sanctuary, and it was absolutely beautiful. This photograph actually turned out being the cover of my book, Tenacity, which was wonderful. This was the Annapurna Sanctuary, where we got up to 15,000 feet, and it was just amazing to be at this kind of altitude in Nepal and see the things that we saw. It just really left us feeling like we had been tenacious. We had stepped outside our comfort zone. We had gotten away from the everyday and had gone to a place that very few people can experience. And so I had to look to see how I was going to define tenacity. And we defined it as the ability to keep on trying and pushing forward, even when outcomes are uncertain, for more fulfillment, freedom, and fun. Those three words are so important to TRIP, because if we're not getting fulfillment in our lives, and if we don't have the freedom to find that fulfillment, we're not going to have any fun. And life is meant to be lived with enthusiasm and excitement. Even at my ripe old age of 74, I try to do as many things possible as I can to keep my life full of fulfillment and freedom and fun. Here in the United States, we had a book that was written a couple of years ago by a lady by the name of Angela Duckworth. And the book was entitled Grit. And she wrote about the power of passion and perseverance, about the military academy in the United States, where they discovered that they were losing 50% of the initial enrollees of young men and women that were coming into the military within the first week, because they called it Hell Week. And they were really struggling in their first week. So she did a lot of analysis, and her famous book came out that taught people how to overcome things through passion and perseverance. Well, I think she did a really great job with that book, but I don't think she took it far enough. With tenacity and resilience, which is very similar to passion and perseverance, she left out what it takes to be imaginative and creative, to have purpose in your life, which are the last two letters of my TRIP. And I think that it was that approach that she left out that I think I accomplished with my book and with my assessment. She talked about how the gritty individual approaches achievement as a marathon, and not knowing how many people we've got that are in marathons, or excuse me, that are, excuse me, I'm gonna lose my battery here in a second. Let me plug my computer in.
It's early in the morning. Even the computer knows that.
I forgot to plug it in when I brought it from another room. I apologize. Anyway, she talked about how it's a lot like a marathon, and how we have to look at the advantage of being stamina, where things are disappointing for a lot of people. Other people who have grit would push through and would stay the course. And I have to agree with her. That's really a great way to look at tenacity, is a way to be able to forge your way forward. And so I developed this tenacity creed, where I think that all of us can kind of admit that we have things we really desperately want in life. And we are really willing to work for them and overcome our boredom or our burnout, because it excites us, it gets us energized, and we really want to go to work and do it. But we know that there's the possibility of disappointment. It's always there in every new adventure that we take on. But if we do it anyway and just keep repeating the process here, we eventually get to where we want to go. The famous scientist Louis Pasteur said, "Let me tell you the secret that has led me to my goals. My strength lies solely in my tenacity." I mean, this is not anything new. Character traits have been examined by people all the way back to Aristotle. And for Louis Pasteur to have said that is really fairly cool. I want people to look at tenacity as having action steps that you can do, because there's things that you can do in your everyday life that will help you. You need to be able to share your enthusiasm and energy of a new vision with others. When you share your enthusiasm, it's contagious. Like being on this podcast at 1:30 in the morning, as I've been talking, my energy is raising and I'm not as tired as I was when we first started. My energy is coming up. My enthusiasm for what I'm talking about is here. And the same thing will happen for you when you start to share a new vision for a new project that you've got that will help you get out of the whole thing of burnout. Is oftentimes just being creative and finding a new vision to move you forward. You need to prioritize and always do the hard tasks first, because when you get the hard things done first, man, you're cruising after that. You don't have to worry about it. You just move on. You get the things done for the rest of your day. And then you can go do the things that give you that fulfillment, freedom, and fun. And finally, you need to bring your own unique brand of spirit to your clients, your team, your family, because each one of us has spirit that is so different than anybody else. And you have to look at it and say, I'm not special, I'm just unique, and this is what I'm bringing to the table. So let's move into resilience. We've got only about 5 or 8 minutes left here, and I want to make sure I'm able to cover it all. Resilience is all about taking action. It is that ability, whoop, I just lost it. Hang on, let me pull it back up. It is that ability to be able to bounce back and become stronger through the peaks and valleys that happen to us in life for, once again, fulfillment, freedom, and fun. Resilience is that innate ability that's inside of us to know when we've hit bottom and to take advantage of the bounce and have it give us energy and enthusiasm to move forward. I had an unfortunate bounce in December. I'm a skier, and I, whenever possible, please don't break both ankles, because I broke both of my ankles in December skiing. I've skied all my life, and I work at a ski resort during the winter time, and I was working the day that I was up there, and I had a really strange accident that caused me to break both ankles. And the tenacity and resilience I had to bring into my life. When you break 2 ankles, it affects everything you do. I live alone, and so I had to have meals brought in. I had to have extra help. It was really a struggle for a while, but I had to find the humor in it because it was just plain silly. Who breaks both ankles? I mean, that's crazy. In our daily life we have today, we have behaviors that we have to overcome in other people as well as in ourselves. And this joke kind of tells you how you can look at planning for new behavior with other people. As you can see here, they're all looking at their phones, and the guy's sitting there on the side. We had to move it where people would see it. They had to put the don't walk sign down on the ground. Otherwise, nobody was ever going to see it. I mean, this is so silly, but it's so true. I don't know if it happens for you in Germany or not, Diana, but it does happen in the States. We see people walking right out into traffic with their phones. It's nuts. And that's what the problem is their behavior and the way we get sucked into behavior that doesn't really fit the kinds of things we want to do, because we have based our behavior in fear, we've based it in confusion, and we've based it on impatience. Those 3 things oftentimes bring on boredom or burnout because we're afraid of what's going to happen. We're confused about what may happen, and we're impatient for the world to get normal again and for us to be in good shape. So we have to be able to look at informing ourselves and our staff. The more informed people are in their mindset that we work with, the more they know about what's going on, the better they can plan their own lives. We have to have a creative diagnosis that helps them understand how we arrived at this problem and how we're going to see our way out of it. And at that point in time, then we feel like we can actually start to empower employees and have them feel like they have really moved along and they've gotten to a place where they really can feel good about themselves. I don't know how many of the people that are in your show here today that are watching, but I think we can all agree that a positive mood strengthens our ability to see our options. And I love this picture of a dog, because having a dog in our lives oftentimes really allows us to have something that raises our mood. I don't have any animals anymore. I had 2 dogs and 2 cats pass away on me, and it was just too much. All my friends keep telling me I need to get another dog so I could learn how to be able to bring that mood up with them. And it's a predictor of how resilient we are. I went back to Nepal the second time. How are we doing on time, Diane?
We have another, I would say 7 minutes.
Wonderful. I went back to Nepal on my second trip, and I had hit my midlife crisis, my mid-career crisis. I was in my late 40s. I was really at a point in time where I had been a certified financial planner and an insurance agent all my life, but I wasn't feeling that fulfillment, freedom, and fun. And I needed to find it. And what I decided to do was go back to Nepal, but to go by myself. And when I landed in Kathmandu, I found out that I was not able to go to base camp in Mount Everest because they'd received too much snow. So I had to redesigned my trip, and I designed it to go to a mountain called Kanchenjunga in the northeastern corner of Nepal. But I had to go through jungle area to be able to get there. And in the jungle, the path would have Ys every once in a while. I'd have to choose to go left or right. There was no signs telling me how to get where I needed to go. And so I ended up being very alone. And I knew towards the end of the day that I was getting lost. And I happened across this little family on the side of the path and told them I was lost and I needed a place to spend the night. And they graciously gave me a nice evening meal and sat me down in their living room. And the little boy was learning how to speak English, and he translated for his parents. It was so cool to see his dad. He was so proud of his son. I mean, the resilience of these people living in these harsh conditions back in that area was really something that was admirable. For me, I was having to be resilient because I had terrible blisters on my feet. I had planned it being high altitude, and suddenly I was going through jungle area. Well, they put me up for the night in a little lean-to that was around behind their house. And when I walked out there in the dark to see where I was going to sleep, I had a little flashlight on my head, and the little boy said, "You can sleep here next to our bull. He's very warm." And I had to spend the night next to a 1,200-pound water buffalo. And here's a picture of him. And it was one of those moments where I started feeling sorry for myself. And I'm going, wait a minute, I've got to be resilient. I asked for this adventure, and that's exactly what I'm getting. And so I started to pray, and I started to feel better about my situation. And I woke up the next morning really having some action steps that I knew that I could take that would help me re-energize when I would hit bottom. One of them was being very grateful for where I'm at in life and all of the things that I have. We hear about people keeping gratitude journals, and I think that that's a wonderful thing to do, because once you look at and grateful for what you've got, things aren't as bad as you think they are. And I've got something that I kind of talk to people about that's very unique and different. I talk about interval training. And I raced bicycles for many years, and we would learn how to do interval training with bicycles, where you would work out at high intensity for a while, and then you would slow down, and then you'd speed back up to high intensity again. You could do this during the course of your day, and let the slowdown periods be when you get up and you walk away from the computer, you go outside, you go play with your dog, you have lunch with a friend, and then you come back and you go high intensity again. It breaks your day up, and it gives you more energy as the day goes along. So I think that's about it, Diana. I think we're reaching about the end of our time. Do you have any questions or anything?
I love this. I absolutely love it, Keith. So thank you so much for sharing it with us, because I know that all of this is absolutely essential. And I know that we have many entrepreneurs, business owners on our platform. And I would say that being a business owner is kind of an adventure. It's like you are going through ups and downs. And I really believe that we need to build this resilience and this tenacity. And you mentioned a few examples on how to do that. But what I noticed also from my own experience is that sometimes it may be difficult to build it. It may be challenging, or maybe we forget about it. We get into all of these fears. On the spot, we react, then we regret that we reacted. How do we do it? How do we actually implement those techniques to be grateful or to do something for ourselves when it happens? Do you have an answer for this?
Well, one thing I would say is never forget to have your sense of humor. When we can laugh at ourselves, we can, like here we are right now. I'm coming up on 2 o'clock in the morning in Colorado. You got to have a sense of humor about this stuff, right? But this is my job. This is what I do. This is what I love. And as a side note, the ski resort that you can see behind me is where I broke my ankles.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a reminder.
So every time I'm on a Zoom call now with this backdrop, I think, oh, there's where I broke my ankles. Oh man. No, I think humor is a huge part of learning how to be tenacious and to be resilient, because we're not going to do everything perfect. We're always going to stumble. We're always going to make errors, and that's being human. But if we can find a way to laugh at ourselves and pick ourselves back up and say, all right, let's try it again. There's got to be a better way. I know I can do it. And have confidence and positivity in your life. Things will always end up going your way.
I love that. Thank you so much, Kit, for sharing it with us. I have in my mind also words fear, confusion, and impatience. And I can say definitely I went through all of them. And I can feel it on a daily basis that I would say it's kind of a ritual that I built. I cannot say that I always manage to do perfectly what I do. Some days I'm with higher energy, some days I am a bit lower. And then I remind myself, okay, what's happening? What is out there? What is behind? And I will definitely keep these 3 words whenever something happens to remind myself that it's just this. It's just a bit of fear, a bit of confusion, impatience. I definitely have the impatience thing a very high level. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. I know that everyone learned a lot. And I would like to close today by asking you, who are you serving and how can people contact you?
It's pretty easy. The website for me I've got is thetriptechnique.com. Oftentimes spelling my name is hard, so people leave the 1 or 2 of the N's out. So thetriptechnique.com, and you can find Tenacity, my book, on Amazon. So that's pretty easily found under my name.
I love that. Thank you so much, Keith. And thank you for staying until late in the evening to do this talk. I believe that many people are going to learn and be inspired by this, because it's really when we get out of our comfort zone and we still do it. And I believe in walk the talk. So definitely you are doing it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's been a blast being with you at 2 o'clock in the morning, halfway around the world together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much once again for being with me.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.